All right, guys, welcome back to another Real Estate Lunchbox. Now, I've been having some audio issues, of course, when you start getting into the good stuff. So bear with me while I jump on here. I'm going to make sure the Facebook crowd is good, even though there's some bad booty scratchers out there. There's some booty scratchers out there in the Facebook community. But I've still been having some audio issues. And the whole goal is to let's see. The whole goal is to make sure that when I do this, yeah, testing. That is right. Yeah. Okay, so we're rocking. We got a couple different colors. I got a couple different topics I need to cover. I said couple different covers. Couple different topics I need to cover today. We're going to cover a couple different topics. And if you don't know, my name's Leon. I'm the host of Real Estate Lunchbox. And Real Estate Lunchbox is definitely a spot where we tackle not just real estate, but culture, politics, news, everything going on in Atlanta. I may even talk about your favorite rapper. I may even talk about your favorite track star or football player. Who knows? They put themselves in a line, clear sight, boom, I'm going to hit them. And I'm going to give you my opinion on it. And you don't have to go by my opinion. The cool thing about this world is that we are composed of people that think different. I don't expect people to think like me. I really don't. I don't even expect you to agree with me a lot of times. You can agree with me on some things, but if you agree with me on everything, I'm going to begin to worry about you.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm going to have a little bit of worrying.
Oh no.
You can agree with me on some things, but if you agree with me on everything, I'm going to begin to worry about you. And that's how it goes. So let's throw in our chat bubble because, of course, want to make sure I turn this down some. Make sure I'm loud enough for you. If you're hearing echoes, let me know. Okay. And I definitely want to throw in this chat bubble because if you're watching this on replay, too late to chat. But guess what? If you're watching it any other spot, you're very much welcome to chat. I'm streaming live. We're on Facebook also, not just we're on Facebook, not just YouTube. So YouTube and Facebook, two channels. We're rolling on today. And first thing I got to talk about, first thing I definitely want to talk about. And there were some topics I'm going to tell you that I tried to tackle on Saturday. If you were listening on Saturday, you saw me on Saturday. I really, really tried to tackle some areas having to do with Bad Bunny, but for whatever reason, my audio stunk. It was bad. And it took somebody that I knew coming on there, because I knew the booty scratchers in Facebook over there who troll wouldn't like it.
Oh no.
Well, guess what, booty scratchers? I got some more for you today you ain't gonna like. But before I jump into anything and everything you don't want me to talk about, and probably the things that piss you off, but you don't really have the balls to actually talk about it, or you don't have the balls to actually confront me about it. And I definitely love to hear what you got to say. This has never been a show where I don't like hearing people, and I want you to say what you got to say. Say your opinion. But I've always discovered that most people who talk about some of these topics, not everybody, let's say a fair amount, let's say 50%, they don't research anything past but what they hear on the news on a Sunday or Saturday morning or in the evening or something their mama aunt told them, or they may be seeing it on Facebook or on TikTok and don't even know, if it's true or not. They just know that. But either way, opinions are always welcome. Let's get into my very first take. And this is all about some of the people that were buying real estate in massive amounts, which I know a bunch of them. I know a lot. Some people are really falling apart right now. They can't hold it together because they bought a bunch of real estate over the last 5 to 8 years, multiple properties. And as the tax bill starts to go up, depreciation starts to set in, and renters can't pay their bills.
Congratulations. Well done.
We find ourselves in a place right now where some of our investors are struggling. They are asset rich and cash poor. So for that reason, they act weird. But either way, I'm not. You say, Leon, you're guessing. You're guessing. You're guessing. Let's go.
At what point are we really going to have the real conversation about buying real estate and whether you can really get rich buying single families, duplexes, quads? I'm talking about really living off of your cash flow, not having other businesses and other active income streams. No, literally living off of the passive income, the dream that we've been sold. And I'm speaking from my real experience and my humble opinion because maybe I did something wrong. And somebody can let me know in the comments whether I did something wrong. But I personally had 40 plus properties and was still broke. Like I was cash poor, equity rich. I had net worth and all this stuff on paper, but I wasn't able to live off of my cash flow if I didn't have other active income streams. At the end of the year, when I look at my P&L, I'm negative or breaking even. Yes,
P&L is your profit loss statement, and that just shows how much you made minus how much you spent. Okay.
made cash flow month by month, but by month 7 or 8, when there's a snowstorm and the pipes freeze and they burst and I got to replace the piping and I got to replace the ceiling tiles and the flooring. Let's not talk about when the roof is leaking and we got to keep spending money to patch things up and make things work until we finally got to put a new roof on. Or when a tenant moves out and now you have to replace the kitchen, the bathroom, new floors because they destroyed your unit. You spend $10,000-15,000 to turn over a unit and then you rent out that unit for $2,000 a month. How long does it take you to get your money back? I'm talking about pure cash flow. Let's not talk about the equity, the net worth, because you only get that when you sell it. And if you refi, it's really just debt that you are borrowing against and then your mortgage goes up. So the dream that we've been sold about getting rich and living a life off of passive income in real estate, I personally didn't live it. I was sold that idea and I learned the hard way. Fortunately, I was able to bounce back, sell my assets, and go buy businesses that cash flow, right? I got into the self-storage business because it has the best of both worlds, where you get the real estate appreciation, the tax advantages, depreciation, but you get cash flow from a business that you actually could drive revenue from every single day with different sales strategies and implementation. So I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about it differently. That's why I'm having this conversation, for us to really just talk about it. It's not, oh, I'm right, you wrong. I'm speaking from my true experience and my humble opinion. So let me know in the comments, family. When can we have this real conversation about whether you could really get rich off of buying just real estate alone?
And we're going to have this conversation because we do need to have this conversation because I believe that we've got a lot of gurus that have really kind of made owning real estate and owning multiple properties in real estate like the thing. Meaning, like, if you don't own it, something's wrong with you. And worse than that, when you own it, you're supposed to cash flow. I remember my very first rental that I got. God, I think me and my wife were making 250, 300 bucks off of it. But the renter called me constantly about everything. The only saving grace was that her aunt was paying the bill. And so I didn't have to deal with stuff, her rent being late. Her aunt was very consistent and on time. But that's not true for all property owners. And more importantly, who wants to actually deal with making 300 bucks on the property? Now, there's ways that you can actually make more than $300, but let's be honest. I mean, most people aren't really willing to do it. They're not willing to pay off the property. They're not willing to keep money tied in it. They're not willing to any of that. Paying it off, you're keeping money tied in it still. You're still keeping money tied into it because all your cash went into getting rid of that note, and now you have to you don't have a note, but you do have a renter that's there and they pay you every month and you recuperate what you put into it. And you should have a matrix, some type of amortization schedule, which shows you when you actually break free. Or then that's really it. Like, you just got your money back and it's flowing. But the traditional game in real estate has been teaching the BRRRR method, which you buy, you renovate, refinance, and you rent it out. BRRRR. And you rent it out. And they're saying when you rent it out, you should have a cap rate. They're saying you should have a cap rate at least close to 10% or better. But because the market's been crazy, because real estate's been doing what it does, and it's been doing it since prior to 2020, I say 2018, 2019, you started seeing it. You're not cash flowing as much as you need to cash flow between your interest rate, between your refinance money you pull out, So you find out people like him, they bought the properties, but they really are breaking even. They put, and it also goes back to management too. Who's managing your property? I've seen people individually manage their property and they swear by it is just good and it is great for them. Then I've seen people have to pay a property management company 5%, 10% of what comes in each month. And then you get this expense sheet of what it costs to actually do to maintain the property from the property management company. Yeah, they're going to send you. You're going to have to okay the repair guys. You're going to have to okay anybody that goes into the house and spends money that they flip the bill for. Guaranteed is coming out of your monthly. Okay, what you get back. And for most property owners, they can end up getting zero back because they paid so much in expenses. Is it smart to have 40 properties? Yeah. Is it smart to have 40 properties and not know what you're doing? Of course, that's an obvious question. No, because education is the foundation, the bedrock of building this. I keep saying this is another skill set. And people don't look at it as a skill set. They look at it as a get rich quick scheme. Like, I'm just going to get rich by owning properties. It's a skill set. And you don't own it just because you own the property doesn't mean you're going to make a ton of money. A lot of times when you have multiple properties like this, you probably have a large portfolio loan, or you have multiple properties like this, and you may have a multifamily. You don't get big money until you actually pull money out of it, or you have some type of event which allows you to cash out a lot of money. I think the lack of education is the thing that we don't talk enough about. You say how we have these conversations. Let's have these conversations around education, around how do I do this and make it better.
At one time, we owned 16 single-family rental properties, and we were broke. They don't cash flow the way that the social media and like the bigger pockets forums and podcasts tries to tell you that, oh, this person bought 5 single-family rentals and then they retired and lived off the cash flow. Dude, that's not the case. 1 to 4 unit properties rarely truly cash flow because of the things that come up when you actually manage and operate them.
Yeah, so some things that come up are like major CapEx. You could have a water heater you need to be replaced, a roof, furnace, all those things are very expensive. So you have to put money back into the property. Another thing is your vacancy. If you have a tenant move out, the property sits vacant for a little bit, there goes your cash flow as well.
And what's the problem? If I even own these properties in cash and I'm trying to just live purely off the cash flow, what have we always seen as a broker when you sell properties for other clients? What decision usually has to be made?
Yeah, if they should put the money back into the property or use it to live off of. So even if you own it in cash, you still have to put money back into the property. So if you're getting $2,000 a month, you still have taxes and insurance as well.
Yeah, of course. So that's the biggest problem with 1 to 4 units. The most important number in real estate is number of units, because more number of units means you have more sources of income, more protection, more way to cover larger expenses. That's why we
units or doors. That's another way to consider it. Doors. You can have a building that has 6 units, 6 doors.
sold all those single family rentals and we did a 1031 exchange into multifamily, more units under one roof, more sources of income, more cash flow. And then we do the BRRRR strategy where we buy it right, force the NOI up to do a cash out refinance, pull out a large payday tax-free. That's where the real money is made, not trying to buy single family homes and get cash flow. That doesn't exist in 2026.
And okay, so we're going to talk about that other video that we just have, because he just said 40 pieces. He didn't say anything about if they were multifamilies. This gentleman mentioned, shout out to the creator, also Tony _ Steven. What's cool about what he said, he nailed it. It's easier when you have multiple properties and they're all in one building. So if you got a 6 unit, more than likely each one of those units are on a separate meter. That means you've got a water. That means, let's say unit A, they know what their water bill is going to be because they got a meter. Unit B, they know what their water bill is going to be because they got a meter. Unit C, they know what it's going to be, all the way down. So you're not paying for those utilities. Those units are covering their utilities themselves. The caveat to this is that the point to this, each unit may have a water heater. That water heater breaks, you're responsible for it. But I look at it like this. If I have a building and I've got 4 units in there, one of the water heaters break, and I know the other 3 are going to go, you can find a deal for 4 units, 4 water heaters, and you can find definitely a plumber that will do all 4 of them at one time. This saves you the cost. So when we look at institutional investors buying right now, people, that's the big thing. These institutional investors, they have all the properties. Nobody can buy properties. They're actually stretched more than anything, because if those units if all of them aren't in one neighborhood, they run the risk now. They got, well, not run the risk. They've got a repair crew driving from the east side of Atlanta to the west side of Atlanta, north side, south side. Now, granted, most of these companies are smart enough to buy within a zip code or a specific area. But then you do have people that find deals and they have multiple units and they're spread through different places. Single family homes make it very hard for you to leverage your other assets, actually bring in money consistently. It does. It really does. I don't believe it was designed, the single family home rental, I don't believe it was truly designed to buy a house and then rent it out intentionally. I think the situation has to be specific. Has to be certain, like a certain type of situation that makes it a good rental, because not all rentals that are single family are good rentals. That's just my opinion. Let's keep going.
Do you know the disadvantages to owning a multifamily rental property over a single family home? Well, let's talk about it. The first set of disadvantages with a multifamily rental property is going to be the maintenance costs. Because you have multiple units, you're going to have multiple systems that you need to maintain and care for. So you'll have multiple sets of appliances, air conditioners, water heaters, electrical systems, plumbing systems, things like that. And then in addition, oftentimes multifamily properties don't have a place for a tenant to store lawn equipment and things. So you'll be responsible for taking care of the outside yard work and stuff like that. And then also sometimes there'll even be like a parking lot if the multifamily unit is big enough that you'll have to maintain. The second set of disadvantages has to do with the tenant. And so in general, the prospects, the people who are going to be renting in a multifamily unit are going to tend to be younger. They're going to tend to have lower income, have a lower credit score, and a shorter rental history. So all that adds up to more risk with respect to the tenant. And then oftentimes as well, we've seen that there tends to be more turnover in multifamily properties than there does in single family homes. So the turnover rate per unit in an individual unit is going to be higher. But overall on the property, the vacancy rate actually is lower, as I said in my earlier video about the advantages of multifamily properties. So take a look at that. And then the third set of disadvantages is really relating to the value of the property itself. Again, in general, it depends on your market and what you're buying and things. The cost of a multifamily property is going to be more, but the appreciation rate on a multifamily property tends to be less than for a single family property. So you won't gain as much appreciation over time, or at least as quick as you would with a single family home. So those are the disadvantages. Again, look at the advantages of multifamily rental properties. That video that
And I'm gonna cut them off right here, because there's also the point that multifamily properties are more desirable. So 18 years in the business, 19 years, but as of this year, I always tell investors, if you can buy multifamily, buy it. If you can get it, it's more desirable from the standpoint of everything is together, like I mentioned earlier. And if you can use that to actually gauge a better cap rate, I don't feel like you get good cap rates off of single family homes. People use that, but I feel like that metric is more of a metric for multifamily, commercial types of properties. But that is what some people go by. But if you can get that cap rate north of 10%, you're great. Now, the problem is over the last few years, we've got a lot of investors that have compromised on that rule, which is another thing. If you don't have a rule of thumb or a structure that you go by for your acquisition, you're going to find yourself in an issue down the line. Most of these institutional investors and buyer pools and groups that buy, they typically have what's called a buy box. Okay. Now, also, if you're in the market and you want to find some off market deals, just check the main description because we do put out off market list every Friday. Shout out to everybody that's been subscribing to the list. They start going out this weekend, this Friday, and I hope everybody finds something good that they like. Just reach out to your boy. I'll be able to put you with somebody to do it. I don't go out and show property, but we can get those questions answered for you. But either way, if you don't see that, if you can go with a multifamily property and use something like your FHA loan, which is a government funded loan, you can get up to about 4 units in that multifamily unit with that FHA loan. Okay. So let me explain that. You can use that FHA loan to buy up to a 4-unit building. Okay. And that means that you can live in one of the units and rent the other 3 out. Do your numbers right and you'll cash flow. That cap rate is very, very, very important. And I think a lot of people don't look at it because as your taxes go up, it affects your cap rate. It comes out of your expenses, operating expenses, not operating expenses for maintaining the property. But cap rate is right there. So that's why you want a strong cap rate north of 10% to make your life a whole lot better, bro.
Multifamily real estate is not a cash flow game. It's a game of large cash paydays and multiple exits. I own 257 multifamily units. The cash flow is so variable.
That boy's doing it. 257 multifamily units. I guess I got to ask the question, does he own it 100% or does he share it with someone else? Tony_Steven, this is another video by you. Shout out to the creator on that. Go check him out. Ask him those questions. I should probably shoot him a text. Because most people who get to about 257 or 200 or God, 50 sometimes, plus, they typically buy it with a group of others and they own a percentage of it, which is cool. That means you have other people to help leverage the operational expense and things like that. Negative, if it's a partnership, somebody gets anything crazy happens to them, you can find yourself liable for it. I'm not an advocate for things like that, but some people love it. Hey.
If something breaks, if someone moves out, someone stops paying, if you have an eviction, just cash flow is so variable. It's like a little drip to keep you going along the way. Where I've made big chunks of money is a cash out refinance. Buying a property, improving the property, fixing it up, forcing the appreciation, then going back to the bank in 12, 18 months, getting a huge chunk of capital out, and it's tax-free because it's debt, and debt is not taxed. Selling a property, I bought 12 units for $900K. 18 months later, I sold it for $1.4 million. So profit after broker commissions and all that was really good. Then I avoided paying tax on that because I 1031 that money into another deal. It's another way to make money.
So that 1031 tax exchange just gives you the ability to buy a property that's very similar when you sell that property you have. So if you have a 4-bedroom, a multifamily unit, and let's say you sell that 4 unit in Arizona and you want to buy it in a more cyclical market, something that is not going up, but it's not going down, but it's consistent. I like those blue collar markets like Memphis or sometimes Tampa. Then you're going to find yourself just not having to deal with the tax implications because, and I'm slowing down, y'all. I'm learning how to slow down when I do this because I talk really fast when I put this info out. But you get to take that money and transfer it over to another property, 4 unit in another state, because it's very similar to the one you sold. You want to talk to an attorney that handles tax exchanges for you. A real estate attorney, anyone that can advise you on that. I am not a real estate attorney, just an 18-year broker who's done a lot of this crap or helped people do a lot of stuff like this. So that's something you have to be concerned with when you buy these investment properties. You got to pay tax on it when you sell it. So that gives you the ability to be able to not have a huge tax burden. But I think the negative thing to that is that you don't really get any of that money in hand. So if you got $300,000 you made in profit, I don't believe you get to touch any of that. All of it goes to the new asset you're buying. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, leave a comment. If you know better than me, it's all good. I give you props. I don't like being the smartest person in the room. Anyway,
real estate, keep growing your money without taxes. So multifamily real estate is a game of long-term appreciation. It's a game of creating big chunks of money that is not taxable. What other business can you create a couple $100,000 of liquidity in your pocket cash and not pay tax on it? Only multifamily real estate. The cash flow is the little drip along the way, but the big paydays, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
My family has invested in about $5 million worth of real estate together, and here's what I've learned. One, real estate is a very slow way to make money. You make a little bit monthly, right? You can build up your monthly cash flow if you have long-term rentals, but largely you're working on appreciation. And so the buying and the selling of that property over time is where you make money. Two, it makes you kind of cash poor. Because when you invest in a property, like there's no way to get in properties with no money down. Okay, I don't care who tells you that, there is not. So you end up putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into property, and then there's not a real clean way or fast way to get it out, because every time you pull money, if you like remortgage or if you take a HELOC or something like that, there's fees associated with that. So it's expensive to pull money out. And then you end up leaving cash in properties longer than you should, because you look at it and you're like, oh, I got this mortgage 4 years ago at a 3% interest rate, and now rates are 7%. I should just leave it there rather than pull it out. And then that makes you cash poor. The third thing is that you have to have money to make money in real estate. It's very hard to start from nothing and then somehow get yourself a property and then turn that into more properties. And it may just be that we are not like creative.
No, is she's not wrong. Let me let her finish this real quick.
Creative enough, but I would say if you're starting out and you don't have $20,000, $30,000 to put into a property, you probably need to just find a way to make that first, right? Whether that's like a business or work or just saving up, like you need to find money to then deploy into real estate and then park it for like 2 years, and then the appreciation on that property, you can pull out more money to do other things. But it's
okay. So what she's saying, she said that there's you need money in real estate to make money in real estate. She's right. There are ways you can make money in real estate, but not own the real estate without having money. Now, it sounds like a tongue twister I'm saying, or it sounds confusing. You can make money in real estate with no money, but you won't end up owning a property typically. Most of the time, the property is just a wholesale deal or even a creative deal, meaning you take possession of it for a short period of time and then you end up selling it. That is another piece. I will I'm thinking about probably dropping something on that, because I hate when people believe you can make money. You don't need money to make money in real estate. That's a lie. If you're going to be holding the property, adding it to your portfolio, you're going to need some money. God, you're going to need to put money up for earnest money at the very least. But when you take the property, you're still going to need to turn on utilities. You're still going to have to do evictions if they're necessary. You're still going to have to do cleanup. All that stuff runs money. So possession of real estate, no, you need money. Wholesaling real estate, creative financing deals in real estate, no. You're more like the middleman, like the broker in between. And I use the word broker very lightly, because in the course of it, you're not an agent brokering. You're just buying the paper, buying the property, and selling the paper. You're buying the property with a contract, and you're selling your position in it. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, but she's not off about that.
Very hard to get started in the cost of real estate now, where your average house is like $400,000. It's very hard to get started without a bucket of cash, ready to go. And then the final thing is, it's a good asset class as far as being able to lend against it. So being able to pull loans against properties or get business loans against properties, and the bank is like more likely to lend to you because your net worth is a lot of times what you say it is on paper. So I bought this property 3 years ago for $200,000, and I think that now it's worth $400,000. More than likely, the bank, unless it's directly related to the real estate, is just going to take your word for it and do like a general check. They're not going to run an appraisal on that real estate to then lend against the real estate. So it's a good thing from a net worth perspective, but it's very slow. You got to have cash to get started.
Yeah, very slow. You got to have cash to get started in. And you do want that. You don't want to have a situation where you don't have any cash to get started in. And it to me, the barrier entry is so low with those type of things. Makes me think twice about it, because the barrier entry is so low. Okay, so let's move on. Hey guys, once again, if you're interested in any of our off-market property lists, look at the description and just fill out the form. You'll get the list as it comes out every Friday. Okay, so check this out. This is the next part, next story up the bat. DeKalb County schools in Georgia, they're going to be closing down some of their schools. The District of DeKalb County is going to be closing down some of their schools in Georgia. And you know the crazy part about this, the craziest thing to me about this is that all of this to me is a rollover or spinover from COVID. Okay. And I'm gonna prove to you and I'm gonna tell you why. But first, let's go ahead and look at this.
The DeKalb County School District announced today that it may have to close 27 schools. The district says declining enrollment and aging infrastructure are forcing its hand.
Leaders could cut 26 elementary schools and convert 3 high schools to middle schools. Fox 5's Tara Jabbour joins us live now. And Tara, you spoke to families today. What are you hearing?
Well, Courtney and Russ, the family I spoke to told me that they're disappointed in the school district and they're hoping that their school, Oak Grove Elementary, doesn't close. But right now it's on that initial list. Now the school district says that they have to make changes because they don't have enough students to support how they are currently running. For a lot of communities, their school is the heart of their community, and that's true for Jack Johnson and his family. Right now, his kids attend Oak Grove Elementary School.
Now, first, if you hang in here, you'll find out that this is not just something that's happening in Atlanta, even though I cover the Atlanta metro area, simply because I live in the Atlanta metro area, sell real estate down here. I deal with all the politics, see the stuff, all of that down here. DeKalb County is actually east of the city of Atlanta, but this is happening across the country, clear. I think Atlanta's just experiencing what some of the other metropolitans are experiencing. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that as we go through this.
26 schools on the chopping block.
Yeah, we feel so connected with this community and the school's been so great for my kids.
Johnson says his kid loves his school and they have another child planning on attending the same school next year.
Everyone's super engaged. My kid loves it. He's got a ton of friends.
A good school was at the top of his mind when his family bought a home in the neighborhood. Now that school could go away.
You know, the communities and where people are really engaged together and don't want to see that broken up.
Jennifer Caraccio with DeKalb County Schools says this list is preliminary. It will likely change.
Right now, DeKalb County School District is operating as if we have 110,000 students. But in reality, we only have 92,000 students.
Ooh. So they're short, what, 110? 92,000? They're short 18,000 students. That means 18,000 empty seats. People, that's a lot. You got to consider we've got high taxes. A lot of metropolitans have high taxes. You got Chicago, you got Houston, you got Atlanta. The taxes in these properties are high. And guys, don't knock it because the house appreciated in that neighborhood, then your taxes are going to be higher. But some of that tax dollar goes towards supporting schools, of course. Now, if you got 18,000 absent students from the school, I'm looking at it like, damn, we do need to close that because closing that will actually balance the budget when it comes to how much of our money is going towards the schools. At least it should. It should. But I've never known the county to say, no, we don't want that money. No, I don't think so.
Oh, no.
I don't think they're going to stop saying that. I think it's going to continue going because that's a direct result of COVID. It's right specifically because of COVID. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. We'll go through that once this is done. Hold on.
He says the district is looking for feedback. Parents can fill out feedback forms on their website, and they will hold in-person and virtual feedback sessions.
We need to give our students across the county, regardless of where they live, the same opportunity.
Verdelia Turner, president of the Georgia Federation of Teachers, says she hopes the district is transparent through this process.
Teachers are going to be concerned about their careers, their students also, and what it means for them, for their students, and for their livelihood.
The district says teachers will follow students in this consolidation and closure process. For Johnson, he just hopes the district puts families first while also balancing its budget.
Great community, and a lot of people would be really disappointed to see it, kind of taken away.
And you can see the full list of.
I think we kind of look at these. We look at this in a silo. Like,
The Fulton County School Board is hosting a public meeting to discuss a school closure proposal. That board will discuss the possible closure of Mary B. Bethune Elementary School, and tonight's meeting that'll be held at the South Learning Center in Union City. It starts in less than an hour at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so these schools are going to close regardless. And I'm going to tell you why these schools are going to close. Hold on, I just threw this up here. Let's go ahead and we're going to blow this up. And I'm going to show you why these schools are going to close. Regardless of whatever they say, these schools are going to close. In both DeKalb County and Atlanta Public Schools, you'll see right here it says significant school closures and consolidation plans were indeed proposed in early 2026. Despite the booming headline population of Atlanta metro area, these specific districts are facing a missing child crisis. When I saw this, I was trying to figure out a missing child crisis. Here's why this is happening and how it contrasts on an overall regional. Man, thank goodness for Gemini. Thank you. I know people got a lot of stuff to say about AI, but I don't got to comb through a bunch of information to find it. I literally went over to Gemini and started asking it questions about it. Okay, so February 2026, the data shows a massive gap between the capacity of the buildings and the actual student body. So DeKalb County, the district is built for about, like she said, 110,000. Students are at 92,000. Like she said, this has led to a proposal to close 27 elementary schools. Now, a lot of people don't want to see these schools close, but, you know, I think it's just a necessary thing. The district has roughly, district has roughly 20,000 empty seats. Oh my gosh. Late 2025, a plan was approved to propose 16 schools that include 9 in 2027 due to utilization rate. Now, I'm going to give you my input. Skyrocketing, boom, has pushed property values high. Property values, what we talking about? Property values are one reason why this is higher. When you have these high property values, they push people, like, for example, in Atlanta, I can only give you an example. This is where I live at. But they push you out of the Atlanta metropolitan area. I noticed in the school district we're in, when we first moved into this school district in Cobb County, the high school was predominantly white. And that's no lie. It was probably about 65-40. I'll say 60-40. 60% white, 40% Black, Spanish, Chinese, Oriental, minorities, however you put it. If I look at it now from going from 2020, because I witnessed this whole COVID thing sitting in the same house, same district, and 5 years later, I witnessed an influx of people moving from inner city to Cobb County, for moving in the city, locating schools that are great schools outside of the city of Atlanta. So now when I go to a pep rally for my daughters, for my kids, any of those, and we're watching a basketball game, most of the team is Black. Probably have 1 or 2 white players on the basketball team. Most of the football team is Black. Minority, Hispanic, you know. And when you look at the student body population for pep rallies and dances and events like that, most of them probably, to me, the demographic changed so drastically. You got a 75-25%, probably 7. This is the first time I've actually seen the white population in minority in a suburban area.
Oh no.
First time I've seen it. So you also stack on top of that decline in birth rates. This is a normal trend, of course, I've seen going around. We don't think it's something, when we abort babies, this is what happens, okay? And people abort them and they sell it to y'all as this is a good job. And this is the effects of things like that. The school choice and private school shift. So when COVID happened, I saw people taking their kids out of schools that were in Atlanta and bringing them home, or even in the suburbs, and bringing them home and educating them at home, training them and teaching them at home. Some of them never went back to school. I know families that they just did home care. Like they did farm care for their kids. Like they had school, like small schools, cluster schools that were set up, probably about 20 students. on a farm or in a rural area or some type of training where they're out and they're not in a home, they're not in a traditional school, but their home is actually a house. My son went to one of those for a while. So the shift in the trend has never gone back. So these schools are going to close in Atlanta. They're going to close in DeKalb. And matter of fact, when I look at this and I started doing more research on this, I found out that it wasn't just Atlanta. It wasn't just DeKalb County. They were seeing this in Houston. They were seeing this in Tampa, all around the country.
The state's largest school district, Houston ISD, has identified 12 campuses for likely closure beginning next school year.
HISD Superintendent Mike Miles says he's resisted bringing this to the board for 3 years and finally pulled the trigger because of greater than expected enrollment declines and the physical condition of these particular schools. He admits the decision to close schools contradicts something he told principals earlier this school year. The Houston Federation of Teachers and others also worry about the impacts on transportation and students who walk to many of these community schools. They believe more public engagement should have been part of this process. The Board of Managers is expected to vote on the closure proposal on February 26th.
Same thing. You can't have a bunch of public engagement and think that public engagement is going to solve the issue. It's not. People aren't sending them kids to school. And I think part of the reason too, and this is my little rant on this, is when you have schools that are teaching your kids stuff that you really don't want them to be taught. One thing I saw recently was protesting. Oh, the kids were gathered on the corner and they were protesting ICE. I want them to be protesting test scores being low. I want them to be protesting inadequate education or teaching or schooling by teachers. I want them to say, hey, these teachers are not giving us anything that's challenging us. So of course, right? That's high school students. They're always going to be looking for a challenge, right?
Oh, no.
I don't think so. But you would want something like that. You would want something like that, not political, social issues that disturb the trend of them completing school and just getting good grades. Because at the end of the day, what ICE has going on and what Donald Trump has going on with ICE, let me tell you, 3-4 years from now, that shit ain't going to mean nothing. What's going to mean is, look, what's going to be important if they're a senior is how did that education help them navigate either trade school, 4-year college, or the real world, okay? And that's all that it boils down to. And if you believe that protesting is necessary in the real world as a high school student, you're going to find out when you go to work at Burger King or Wendy's or wherever you choose to plant your flag for a temporary time, they don't care how much you protest unless it's fucking Target.
Oh, no.
All right, so let's roll. Here's another one.
So yesterday, the DeKalb County School District dropped a bomb and proposed closing 27 schools and repurposing 8 over the next 6 to 8 years. Here's a list of schools that could potentially be on the chopping block. As a DeKalbian myself, this definitely hits home. I went to Leslie J. Steele and I went to McNair Middle and McNair High. My grandparents taught all over DeKalb. District projections show enrollment declining by 2030 by the equivalent of 4 high schools. Cedar Grove, Lithonia, and Towers High Schools are proposed to be eliminated and repurposed as middle schools due to low facility adequacy and their proximity to other campuses.
Now, part of the thing I'm also seeing in this is when he just spit out that number 2030, you got to consider that a lot of people also, going back to the previous conversation, they don't want their kids to be educated in public schools and influenced in such a liberal way that they don't have any take on it. So what I partially see is parents opting for, one, cheaper places to live, less expensive places that are not necessarily in the city, and then also opting in some cases to keep the kids at home because then we could do better teaching them at home than giving them to some people that just want to fill their mind with ideology and rhetoric and propaganda that we don't advocate for. We want them to teach our kids reading, writing, arithmetic. We want them to learn math skills. We want them to know those things. They don't have to be geniuses, but damn, they got to at least be able to finish the classes. They spend more time in that than trying to get them so excited and gaslit about what Trump is doing. And it was sad. I saw a video of these elementary school students walking around. These kids, they wasn't in elementary, they were preschool. They couldn't have been no more than 4 or 5 years old. No, Donald Trump. No, I said, this is demonic. This is evil. So this is what happens. When this happens, we have less teachers, because don't think that they're going to close these schools and find places for some of these teachers. Some teachers are going to be out of work. So this economy will start to trickle. What we see already taking place at the Amazons and some of these other places is going to affect locally now teachers, because with all these school closings, somebody's going to lose their job. These teachers aren't going to stay employed teaching what? Empty chairs? It's not going to work. Teaching is a noble profession. It's a noble profession. But if you're a really good teacher, I'm going to tell you, you just don't need to teach kids in front of them. You can teach them over the internet. You can teach them through tools and systems that you put in place, digital products that help parents navigate, helping them become better students on the back end. So there's many ways to teach if you have that teaching gift. Now, if you just got the teaching degree just for being a teacher, I think you do need to be let go.
Congratulations. Well done.
You need to find somewhere that's more comfortable for you.
District also anticipates 5 middle schools worth of empty seats. Cedar Grove Middle will close, while Champion, Theme, McNair, Bethune, Miller Grove, and Lithonia middle schools will be converted to elementary schools. Those conversions would create a surplus of roughly 30 elementary schools worth seats, leading to a proposal to close 26 elementary schools countywide. Understandably, the proposal sparked concern among parents, teachers, and union leaders concerned about job security and the loss of community identity tied to neighborhood schools. This 100% impacts real estate because school assignments play a major role in buyer demand and home values. Many families choose neighborhoods specifically for the access to certain schools, so uncertainty around closures, repurposing, or boundary changes can cause buyers to shift to other districts. Like, imagine buying a home specifically so your child could attend a certain school and then learning that the school may close. This can cause home prices and sales to reduce, especially in areas closely tied to a neighborhood's school reputation. Schools are an essential part of a community's identity and are paid for largely through property taxes. When big changes like closures and rezonings happen, it can affect how people feel about the area, whether investors want to put money there, and how desirable the neighborhood seems to home buyers. But before y'all start throwing a fit, I think it's important to note that nothing has been finalized and you still have a say in the matter. The school district wants your feedback. If you don't like the proposal, make your voice heard. I'll leave the link to the survey in the comments below.
All right, shout out to the content creator right there, T.I.J. Head. Go check him out. Good points that he made right there. Also consider the fact, too, that the people that are actually buying houses in those school districts or in those specific communities that families are moving out of and opting to go to cheaper communities for, they're typically couples that are dual income, no kids. Dual income, no kids. It's a lot of them out there. I applaud you guys with dual income, no kids. I applaud you guys. I love my kids. I wouldn't trade them for anything. But that's typically what we're seeing. So you can go protest. You can go advocate as much as you want. But at the end of the day, listen, ain't no protesting ICE move on this. Nick Rose, if you don't have enough kids there, ain't no way they can keep it open. Ain't no way they can keep it open. I think we should be saying, what happens now to the tax dollars that we're sending over there for those schools that are getting closed? Are these property taxes going to be lower because of that? Are they going to adjust them? You're talking about getting money back, and I don't think where we live at or any of this is designed for us to get any of this money back, bro. I don't think so at all. Check this out. Okay, so let's move to our next topic. What else I want to talk about? We talked about 40 school closing. Is this the COVID scam? Property tax? Oh man, rentals. Bro, for you guys in this rental piece, I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of help right here. The question is, should you rent versus buy? And in my opinion, hold on, let me go ahead and change this real quick. Let me see. Hold on.
Renting now cheaper than.
Yeah, let's go with this. Renting now becomes your next option because you're not buying. So a lot of these families, they've moved out of the major metropolitans. They're not giving their money to the school system. there. They're giving into a new school system, but they're becoming renters because there's certain communities in Cobb County, Fulton County, DeKalb County, you just can't find a house in. And when you find it, it goes fast, even with everything that's happening in the real estate here. And I say it's because it's not it's not so much the house, it's the neighborhood. When you buy a house, you buy the neighborhood. You don't really buy the house. It's cool, but who wants to have a fly-looking house in a neighborhood that's trash? And people do that all the time in Atlanta. It's called gentrification.
Oh no.
Yeah, but who wants to do that? So I've always been an advocate, and I always say you don't buy the house, you buy the neighborhood. You buy the neighborhood. And these are some reasons why. Because when you buy the neighborhood right, you're able to rent it right if you need to.
Owning in every major U.S. metro area, including Los Angeles.
That's kind of a big deal when
Yeah.
you stop and think about it. This is the result of a study by LendingTree, which indeed finds that renting is cheaper than owning a home in every single major metropolitan area in the United States. And this really underlines the unaffordability of the housing market, especially for younger people who are just getting priced out of the American dream. In other words, home ownership. So this study finds that homeowners pay about 37% more per month than renters, which is to say monthly mortgage costs can run about $550 more than monthly rents, or on an annual basis, you'd be paying about $6,500 more per year than a renter. And in cities like LA, San Francisco, New York, a mortgage holder can pay as much as $1,500 more per month than a renter. And in case you need some context there, the median rent nationwide is now about $1,500, compared with a median monthly mortgage payment that tops $2,000. Typically here in Southern California, it's going to be a good deal higher than that. This difference is a key reason that millions of Americans now say they just simply cannot afford a home and can't imagine a circumstance in which they can. The Trump administration.
Woo, boy, it's going to get hot out here before it actually gets cooler. It's going to get hot out here before it gets cooler. But let me tell you something. You don't have to be hurt by this, because if you got to rent. It's nothing wrong with renting. It's nothing wrong at all with renting. I don't see it at all.
Is well aware of this problem and is pondering various ways to make homes more affordable. And one such idea is steering people into 50-year mortgages as opposed to the more traditional 30-year mortgage. And in terms of a monthly payment, a 50-year mortgage clearly is going to have a lower monthly payment than a 30-year mortgage. But the danger here is you'll be saddled with debt for probably the rest of your natural life, and you'll end up paying far more in interest under a 50-year loan than you would under a 30-year loan. So are we any closer to homes becoming more affordable? Not a chance.
I know a lot of young people who say that they have been priced out of the housing market, don't want to play the ownership game any longer, and instead are taking that kind of money and investing it in the stock market and other financial tools, and so far some have said they're happy with their investments.
Sure, but it's a roll of the dice. Obviously, on a short-term basis, if you're investing that money, well, you're hoping that the strong market, and we've had a very strong stock market for the past few years, it'll keep working in your favor. The problem there is, until you enter the housing market, you're not building equity. Equity is the name of the game when it comes to home ownership, because you're now building up a nest egg for the future. And if you can pay off your mortgage before your retirement, then you're in really good shape, because then you've got flexibility, financially speaking, for handling all the other things that might come up. A large part of that is going to be health care once you become
What do you say?
older, but not to worry, because you'll have your Trump account to fall back on.
And that's true. The equity portion is the name of the game. Why is that important? Because I was able to go from a starter home to a permanent home because of the equity that was already in the starter home. So it's easier to not have to come up with a huge down payment if you sell one asset and buy another asset, because your money's already in there. You're going to get hit with the tax liability. Go talk to your tax people on that. But you got cash to be able to buy something better, better place, location, better price. It doesn't matter. So there are benefits to actually owning it if you can navigate some of these trepidatious times and things like that.
Should you be renting or buying in today's housing market? Well, let's pull this out 30 years and see what path is right for you. So person A decides to rent, let's say it's $2,000. Every year the rent's going to go up about 3%. So in 30 years, this person's going to end up spending $1.1 million on rent. Now person B decides to buy, let's say a $400,000 home. They put down 10%. They get a loan out for $360,000 at a 7% interest rate. Let's say they can never refinance it, never dip below 7 ever again. You're going to end up spending $500,000 on interest. Plus you have the dreaded maintenance everyone talks about with homeownership for another $200,000 over 30 years. And you're going to pay about $250,000 in homeowners insurance and property taxes, bringing the total to owning this home to $1.35 million. However, the renter who spent $1.1 million does not have access to that money. But the person who paid their house off, they now have equity of $1 million to their name, and their monthly, they only have property tax and homeowner insurance now for $2,000, where the renter is now subject to what the rents will be, which will probably be anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 in 30 years from now.
Is renting a house a waste of money?
Well, actually, there's lots of benefits to renting. You can move out anytime you like. You don't have to worry about maintenance, and you can invest the savings.
But every month my money's wasted on rent, so buying must be better.
Well, buying has lots of advantages. You can pay it off over time. Historically, property goes up in value, and you can also rent out a room.
But what's better, buying or renting?
Well, my simple rule is, if you're going to stay there for less than 5 to 7 years, rent and invest your mortgage deposit.
Owning a house and buying a house and taking out a mortgage and taking on debt ain't all that it's cracked up to be. The Realtor Association of the world has done a great job of saying renting is throwing away money. Because that's
okay. And let's talk about this real estate situation with realtors. If you tell a realtor you're interested in buying a house, most of the time they will not talk you out of it. Okay, they won't, unless you're dealing with a situation where they just clearly see you shouldn't be buying. But if you got a lot of junk in the back that you're not telling them, or apprehensions or different things that may concern you, they're not going to sit back and talk you out of it. Even if the market looks a little trepidatious, people want to say, yeah, you got to do right by your client. It's fiduciary responsibility. I haven't seen any of them talk. And let me tell you why. Because I've attempted to talk people out of buying stuff, and they look at me like I'm crazy, and then commence to either leave me and go to another agent and they buy it, okay? So I stopped telling them you need to stop. Now, that's not true for everyone, but the ones I do engage with, I stop telling them, hey, you don't need to buy it right now. I think you should, because that's me making the decision for them. And what I find out in real estate, when you start making decisions for people under the guise of, hey, you should do this to help you, and you try to lead them in that direction, don't be the loan officer nor be the agent, because some of y'all will just pop off because you just know you want what you want.
Oh no.
So I'll let it just play itself out. Don't blame realtors for pushing this, because I found if you're going to do what you're going to do, even if a realtor tells you not to do it.
what the American dream was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Buy a house, 2-car garage, picket fence, 2.2 kids. That's what the American dream is. The American dream today is economic freedom. Pick and choose wherever the hell you want to go. Keep it moving and stay flexible and keep your overhead low. So what people forget is that, all right, you know that if you're going to buy a place, first thing you're going to look at is the mortgage payment, right? So typically, I mean, the last 6 months, it's gone from 3% to 6%. That's double. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure 3 to 6 is double. Good. But the three things that people forget about when they go to buy a house, and for those of us that have bought a house, they get it now. Those of us that have not is what I call the big three expenses. That's your taxes, your maintenance, and your insurance. Those are three things you do not have to pay for if you're renting.
I personally will always prefer renting over purchasing a property, because just like your rent can go up every year, your mortgage can go up too. Now, the loan amount itself will stay the same, but interest rates, HOA fees, and taxes can increase your mortgage. And don't let it be a new bill, baby. You do not know how much you're going to really be paying in taxes until that land is a little lived in. People have seen their house note go up anywhere from like $500 to $800 sometimes, just because they're in a new build and they don't know what the taxes are going to be in that area yet.
That's why I'm not a fan of new build, but I have people that buy them. I just try to say, hey, you don't know what they're only guesstimating what the taxes would be based on homes that are in the area that fit your type of property. but don't think that it may be that exactly, because you can see a huge jump in that bill. I've never seen somebody tell me they had a huge drop in their tax bill on a new home construction. I just haven't, and that's kind of weird, but I guess that's the way the world is right now.
In my opinion, it's only smart to purchase a home if, one, you just have a super large family and that makes sense for you, or two, if you're purchasing because you're an investor and you want to make that an investment. In my personal opinion, buying a house is not a good investment if you're living in the house. And at least when you're renting, you don't have to worry about maintenance. When you are buying a house, don't let your AC break. That's a $10,000 bill that's coming out of your pocket instead of a landlord's pocket. But if you don't know who I am, my name is Chastity. I'm a realtor. I'm here to support you in whatever decision you make, whether it be renting or buying a home. I am located in the Houston area, so if you're looking to move in that area anytime soon and you want a single family home or even a multi-family home to buy or to rent, you could go ahead, click the link in my bio, send in your consultation form, and I can send you a list of properties just like that.
Let me de-influence you on buying a house. We bought this house that we're in right now less than a year ago. Our monthly payment is $3,304, but here's what else we pay for because we own instead of rent. Our homeowner's insurance is $168 a month, property taxes $215 a month, water $200, gas and electric only $71 because we have solar panels, but we also have a $139 a month solar panel loan payment that we
Hold on. Gas and electric. She only paying $71 for gas and electric, $200 for water. Oh my gosh. She got it good. Homeowners insurance, $168, mortgage payment, $3,304. Shouldn't that homeowners insurance be rolled into that monthly payment plus the homeowner? It should be part of that. Unless I guess she could have had a note where it's more conventional and they didn't roll the oh no, that's insurance. They typically do that just for taxes, but so her bill really isn't $3,304. It's $3,304 plus $168. That's where her monthly payment is right there. These are just more expenses. And $179.
had to acquire from the previous owners.
Solar
Internet,
panels. Solar panels. $139 for solar panels. Wow.
$10 a month. Security cameras, $12 a month. That's
Internet.
$4,219 just to have a functioning home. If you're savvy, I'm sure you considered all of those expenses. But let's get into the ones you may not have considered that we've spent money on our first year of being here. Garage door repair. New springs, $673. We have sprinklers now, and those need to be blown out before winter, $120. Lawnmower, weed whacker, and a blower that we needed, $348. Plus a minimum of 2 hours every weekend to care for the lawn. This trash can cost me $150. This dishwasher is broke, $409.
Hey, I saw that same trash can. My wife bought that same type. She didn't pay that much for. I hope she did.
$100 for a new one. We are hand washing right now because after spending $3,500 to have a specialized mold inspection done, we've been informed that the basement has mold. $28,000 to $57,000 for remediation.
Oh no.
And homeowner.
Oh no. She should have been able to do that before she bought the property. Before she bought the house, they should have been able to do a mold inspection and tell you that it needed mold remediation. I guess she skipped the corner. I don't know.
Insurance will not cover any of it. That's $4,791 on unforeseen expenses in year one, $28,000 to $57,000 for a mold remediation that we will have done in year two. Do not get me wrong. I am forever grateful to be here, to be a homeowner, but these are some things to consider before purchasing.
And she's not wrong. Those are all the things you do need to consider before purchasing. All right, cool. Man, let's go to the next topic. So, what's big right now? Right now, everybody's bucking on this freaking voter ID. Voter ID, I think, is going to be what wins and loses the election for the Democratic Party because they need that. They need the voter ID, especially in communities right now where you have an influx of immigrants that are coming into the community. And the question is, are they able to vote? Are they legally able to vote? or let's see what's going on. What's on? Hey, how you doing? Not right now. No projects right now that I am in need of any help for. Thank you for jumping in and let me know. So mode remediation. Well, no, what were we talking about? I got distracted on this. Yeah. ID, voter ID. So that's going to determine if they win or they lose the election. That's going to determine. Because I personally believe that this is a move to keep their voting block. And this is my opinion. If you disagree with me, you're welcome to leave a comment. The voting block for the Democratic Party now just doesn't consist of the black vote. It consists of a variety of votes that the Republican side is questioning. Are they legit? Which I don't think is wrong to question this at all. If we can't question the legitimacy of our voting system, then what the hell are we doing? Don't tell me there's very few issues, because when I listen to politicians, they lie. They lie. Most of these politicians that get put into place, they do it for the check, the bag, access that you don't have, that we don't have, to upcoming information. And how do I know? Because Ilhan Omar shot up in her net worth, her and her husband, and now also Republican, I did a report on that, Representative Presley, same thing. She's in real estate all of a sudden. Okay, all of a sudden she's got a portfolio and is worth $8 million, close to $9 million. So yeah, we do need to question the legitimacy of whoever's casting the vote. Should they be casting it? Should we even, what should be required to verify it? Now, there are some parts of this that I don't agree with, but I do believe as a whole, just we need to have ID. I'm going to play this and then we'll get into this.
Nation's capital, the GOP-led House voted today to pass the Save America Act, the sweeping election bill championed by President Trump. The vote was 218 to 213, with all but one Democrat voting against the measure. If passed by the Senate and signed by Trump, the bill would require proof of citizenship to register to vote, as well as identification at the ballot box. Democrats argue that this is a non-issue since it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Well, it was illegal also for non-citizens to get federal support when it came to SNAP benefits and housing assistance, but they got it anyway. So why are we even sitting back talking about it's illegal aliens shouldn't be allowed to vote? Bro, they've been rules already. We got people that got jobs that were illegal aliens and they were cleared through background checks, and nobody's even talking about where these background checks went through. Like, who on the other side said it was okay? If it's a Republican, fire them, okay? If it's a jurisdiction that had no say in it, we need to make some changes, because we do need to address this. And we live in a luxury, I believe, as citizens, to believe that everything works perfect because our people in the office tells us this is perfect. Nothing to see here. Keep on going. We got this under control. We fixed it. And it was one time it happened. Yeah, you had one or two, but it's not worth us making it inconvenient for people who poor. These are poor black people that are low key. They don't know any better. We can't require this from them. You're racist if you do that.
And meanwhile claims that anyone who opposes the measure wants to undermine democracy.
And the only people that oppose it are people who want to cheat our system, who want to participate in our elections illegally, unlawfully. And that's not fair to the American people.
The measure now heads to the U.S. Senate, where it is unlikely to gain the Democratic support needed to pass the chamber's 60-vote threshold.
The debate over voting rules is heating up in Washington after the House narrowly passed the Save America Act. That legislation would require proof of citizenship to register to vote and photo ID at the polls. Supporters say it's about election security. Critics call it voter suppression. Brian Webb joins us live with details tonight. Brian.
John, if it passes, it would tighten federal voting rules. But a local group of election experts is pushing back tonight, claiming this is the work of election deniers in the back pocket of President Trump.
Does the country need new voting rules? This group of election experts says no.
I've spent several years watching an election conspiracy circus unfold across this country, from Pennsylvania to Michigan to Georgia and here in Arizona, all because one candidate refused to accept the will of the voters.
But as much as sometimes Donald Trump can be so polarizing and he can just run off, like words run out, emotions run out, just like snap. I always say I understand why he's snapping in most situations. Some situations I'm like, come on, man. But most of them I understand. This voting issue, when you have another party building a block of voters off of immigrants that come in, illegal immigrants, migrants that come into the country, they give them everything that they need to be sustained. The SNAP benefits, the housing benefits. HUD is on them now, canceling those housing benefits. When you have that, I got to say, okay, what's the next step? So are you telling me you've got all of these other benefits that you crossed over the border? You don't have the benefit to vote. We're not grooming you to vote. We're just doing this as great citizens of the world. You a liar, you a liar, you a liar. You lie. You lie. You lie. You don't never give anything for just to not get anything. Don't believe that hype. Because even in Minnesota, where I looked at it, 85% of the people that they were tripping about are citizens. I get it. They are. But you do have a very high percentage that are citizens that still get SNAP. And I'm wondering, what did you put into the system to pull this out? I don't know. I don't think it's crazy for the Republicans to ask this. I don't think it's crazy. And I've seen it. I think as you go, you'll see, because I got one or two other ones to cover this videos. I think what's required to show it is where we need to be talking about. We just don't need to be shutting it down and saying there's no need. And I'm going to tell you why I feel we don't need to shut this thing down.
I'm disgusted that we're standing here in 2026 defending the basic mechanics of our democracy against these false conspiracies.
They insist Arizona voting is safe and secure, well-tested and strengthened over decades. And they point to the 2020 election as proof.
Everyone stood up for the will of the voters, and it's because of their courage that we have a strong democracy today, especially in Arizona.
Supporters say the new federal election standards will strengthen the process, ensuring only U.S. citizens vote, closing loopholes, and increasing confidence.
If you're going to buy a gun these days, exercise your Second Amendment right. You've got to show photo ID. But this fundamental right of voting, the Democrats in Congress voted against.
Opponents of the bill cite Fulton County, Georgia. Federal agents recently raiding an election warehouse and say Arizona could be next.
And I'm going
to tell you, Arizona's going to be next. Arizona has experienced several notable voter counting and administration challenges over the last few years, ranging from administrative data errors to legislative changes that impact the speed of reporting in 2024, the administrative and legal issue voted data era, proof of citizenship. Why is this such a big freaking issue? Why are you going to stand here and lie? We don't have no problems. I follow Robert Kiyosaki, and I've seen different posts that Robert Kiyosaki has made during that voting period of time that pissed off, because I don't live in Arizona. And because it's easy if you live in California, if you live in New York, to say, yeah, why are you getting on Arizona? They got stuff going on. But just like Minnesota, we need to come see the books, babe.
scared that this is the start of what we're going to see in 2026.
This group isn't only questioning the Save America Act, but demanding Republicans running for governor do what's right.
When Trump says jump, Andy Biggs, Karen Taylor Robeson, and David Schweikert say how high.
When politicians refuse to condemn unconstitutional actions, that silence is not neutral. It is permission.
The Senate would still need to pass the Save America Act, and Republicans will likely need help from Democrats to do it. Brian Webb, Fox 10 News.
And that's why we live in a republic, right? They're going to need help from the Dems to actually get it done. And if you don't believe that that's a necessary thing, I question the legitimacy of you guys in position. I've always questioned that. If it's going to be a fight, like you're fighting for this to not be an issue, I question it. Why would we fight against something like this? I don't get it. Now, when you talk about mail-out ballots, we need to address that mail-in ballots also, because people mail shit in and they want to act like people don't mail anything in. Why are y'all doing that? Listen, I'm going to bring it down. I'm not going to scream. I said I'm going to lower my voice and talk to you guys, just normal and just as people to just want to hear me do the nice little YouTuber da 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 da. So let's do a little da 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 da. We'll keep it nice and low pace. Arizona already faced delays when it came to handing in their votes in the 2024 election. This affected 218,000 votes, data error affecting approximately 280. And they say they don't need anything. We're good. New legislative requirements. A state law enhanced in 2024 requires poll workers to hand tally the number of mail ballots, envelopes dropped off in polling sites before delivering them to central counting facilities. I don't know why some of these rules are so hard. Why are they so hard to even go by? If I can't question the integrity of the election process, then why do we even have election processes? Why is that even important? Like, why are we even here? Why?
What voting rights is he taking away from black voters?
Oh, if we look at
the SAVE Act?
The SAVE Act, that's exactly what we're talking about. That is actually going to continue to disenfranchise overwhelmingly a lot of people of color. There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data. If we look at the way that it is going to disenfranchise black...
You see that pivot? She said there's so many civil rights places that have done the data. How? Show me where. Show me what they're saying.
Voters, it's the same reason why Chuck Schumer called it Jim Crow 2.0.
So,
this is the same president. If we want to continue...
You haven't said how yet.
I am talking about it. It's the way that you're putting new poll taxes on this when you're making people have... That's what we can call them now. It's kind of an idiom, right? If you want to say that people have to prove that they are citizens, that they have to prove with a voter ID, the reality is you're layering what is a constitutional right for the American people and making it harder for people to vote in this country, and it's going to disenfranchise black voters.
Concern you that you're making all these claims? You've yet to lay out how it's hurting anyone, but 76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote. 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters
the
are
SAVE
too
Act
dumb to know what's good for them? I mean,
the
it
SAVE Act
sounds...
isn't just...
And CNN did that chart. They actually did a poll, 76, and the new numbers adjusted to 82% of black voters believe that we do need voter ID. I don't get it. See, these same black people, I feel, that are advocating for, no, we don't need this. It doesn't matter if Trump says we need water. No, we don't need water. We good drinking piss. I'm like, what the heck? Your own constituents are saying that. As you guys make your check and you guys gear up and get your federal funding and your trickle down money from in the next political run and race, they get these things. They don't care. They don't care about the people like us. They don't care about the people sitting back at home because they got access already. They got access to the money. They got access to the resources. They know. They know when things are going to happen, and they definitely know how it's going to go down. So with all those things, when you advocate and you fight against that, I don't know. I don't agree. I don't agree at all with it. And anybody that says I don't need to show ID showing up at the poll, why the hell do you need to show ID going to the gas station? Going to the liquor store. Now, I'm going to tell you what I feel about this, though.
No, that sounds pretty condescending to me.
That's not
You get three-quarters of black voters
That's not
who want voter ID.
But to be clear, the SAVE Act is not just about ideas. The SAVE Act is about proof of citizenship.
So what?
So it doesn't. I actually.
It also makes it very hard for married women who
I was just going to say we talked about this before.
Poor
It's not.
voters.
It actually. There's an argument open that red state voters, women. Poor white voters could be just as.
I know you think they're dumb too, don't you?
Yeah, I'll let you guys watch.
I hear these arguments. I've heard Democrats all week long.
No, please don't. No, you listen.
There's a deflection from talking about Donald Trump's racism.
I'm actually
right there.
You should be thinking about your constituents or your.
Yeah, I think they're smart enough to figure out how to register to vote. Abby.
Hold on. Most Americans don't have a passport. Many Americans don't have access to their birth certificate. Many women, a majority of women who change their names for marriage have to provide additional proof that they've changed their legal names in order to register to vote.
I have heard Democrats
Scott, why
make
don't
these
you
same
actually
arguments.
respond to the substance of what I'm saying?
I am, and
as
the substance
opposed
is
to making this about something that it's not.
You're saying
it's not just
you're
about
saying
voter ID.
married
It's
women,
also about
black
who has
voters,
access
and rural people are too stupid to figure out how to register to vote.
That's exactly it. They make all these excuses. They can't do it because of this. We can't do it because of that. No, nobody has their birth certificate. What do you mean? If anything, I think this should be a opportunity for people who don't have their birth certificate and they're citizens to go get your birth certificate. Order that. You should have that in a safe or somewhere put away safely. I remember back in the day, my mom, my grandma, them, they had all that stuff put to the side. But then again, of course, we were the thinking part of the black population, right? Not making excuses for everything else. So what do? So we throw it out because nobody has birth ID or any way to actually show it? That's what we do? I think that's the most stupidest thing we can actually do. I think it's the most craziest, stupidest thing. We're now going to bend the rules for administrative reasons for people.
That is not what she said.
Are you saying they can't figure out how to vote?
Let me offer the proof.
Are you saying they can't
This
figure out
is
how
the
to vote?
exact same argument.
That boy handing them. He be handling them. And they need to be handed. Scott Jennings, boy, he give it to him. Give it to him. Smoke him. Smoke him, Scott. Just smoke him. Just smoke him. Man. Just smoke him. I'm going to take a break for this real quick. Hold on, guys. All right. I'm going to tell you, there's a clear difference between having boys in your house and girls. And I love my girls, but boy, I tell you, there is definitely a big difference between them. Because somewhere along the line, they felt it was okay to make all this noise. Hey, guys, okay, so let's talk about this. Why do I feel this way about this voting issue, okay? Why is it that I'm one of the advocates that say, and I'm going to continue saying this, we do need to check citizenship of people casting votes. More importantly, the integrity of citizenship should be upheld regardless of whatever we're talking about. I believe we should hold it up also when we buy real estate, because up till May 2025, this past 2025, FHA loans were given to anybody. If you can prove some basic information and none of it consists of being a citizen, you could get an FHA loan. And if you don't know, that's a federally funded subsidized loan. You get into it at 3.5%, which traditionally, if you went for a conventional loan, you have 5, 10%, some cases 20, just depending on your situation. So if you want to do conventional, I'm a little more lenient with that. But FHA is a government loan. You got to pay. Think of it, the tax dollars that are actually paid on a federal level, things like that subsidize FHA loan, wherever they get the money from, but it's not supposed to be for non-citizens. Now, we've got an influx already of people that are not citizens still claiming their citizenship in their previous country, but also buying land here?
Chinese buyers are dominating foreign purchases of U.S. homes. Grady Trimble joining us from Capitol Hill. How much are they buying, and is Congress going to do anything about it?
Billions of dollars worth, Stuart. And to answer your second question, some lawmakers say Congress does need to do something to stop Chinese nationals from buying up U.S. real estate and to help U.S. citizens to live out the American dream.
Every Chinese citizen is responsible by law to spy on Americans. Okay, so why are we allowing them in our country and buying our land?
I can leave it right there for you. By law, he said it. And he's not just saying, what's that, Rick Scott? He's not just saying it. Every Chinese citizen is responsible, required when they come over to spy for China. And I take it deeper. It's not even every Chinese citizen. If you're born and you're in China and you're a Chinese national, you still have family over there. They can leverage your family against you to persuade you to do the bidding of the Chinese government. This is different than the U.S. Remember what Robert Kennedy said? John F. Kennedy said? No, John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? That type of mentality has gone out the U.S. We don't have that. But that mentality is still in China. And as a matter of fact, is ingrained into every Chinese national.
To create more opportunities for Americans to buy homes. That's what we should be doing. We should be doing everything we can up here to help Americans afford a home, get a great education for their kids, get a job, and keep them safe.
So here are the numbers from the National Association of Realtors. They say Chinese buyers spent $13.7 billion on homes from April of last year through March of this year. That's a fraction of the total purchases, but an 82.6% increase from the prior year. Most buyers, they say, are using cash and say the purchases are for personal use. This all comes as Chinese entities continue to buy up farmland in the U.S., something former Senator Joe Manchin spoke about when he made his return to Capitol Hill this week.
I applaud the administration for doing everything they can to shut down China, get them out of the United States of America. They're never going to have our values. The only thing is reciprocate. Just reciprocate, that's all. Try to go over in China and buy property.
And a bipartisan group of lawmakers just introduced legislation that would increase oversight of foreign ownership on farmlands. Stu, maybe something else could be in the works to deal with these purchases of real estate in the U.S. too.
Got it. Grady, thanks very much.
The Trump administration is planning to ban buyers linked to China from purchasing farmland in the U.S. Chinese investors own about 265,000 acres of land.
That's a lot. That 265 acres linked to Chinese. Think of it like this. We need this type of land already to grow crops. We don't think we do, but we do. And some people are just ignorant. They live in the city. They only used to go into a store. They don't know anything about buying farmland or farming or what the heck is fresh produce. You eat processed food. This doesn't affect you if that's all you're about. But 265 acres of farmland, even at 0.003, I still say, why the hell are you here? Why are they here buying up farmland? Why? See, when we don't sit back and address these issues, when people like me say we need voter registration, like, you guys got to validate you are who you say you are, because this shows me that the system is manipulated, that there are holes in the system that allows them, just like Somalis did it in Minnesota, run up the bag. They sent up that money over to Somalia. They've been doing it since 2015. This thing with Trump ain't brand new. But since that, even with that. So I got to look at it and say, we need to have some guidelines. We need to have some bumpers put in place, because we cannot go to these countries and buy land and homes and houses in places like they can't. We can't go to most of these countries and set up businesses. Don't tell me that's why America's different. America's different because the citizens of America are allowed to do things I'm doing right now, which is sharing with you my thoughts, my ideas, how I feel about it, having open dialogue and discussion. They can't do that in their country. Don't be deceived and don't let anybody lie to you. They can't do that. You will find that you will disappear really fast in China if you really have an issue with the Communist Party in China. And we have too many ignorant, stupid Americans who don't understand global politics, who haven't looked at past their paycheck that they get on Friday, the beer that they get at the local bar, and the conversations they have in their Facebook group and their little they don't know about that. None of them have been overseas. Most of them haven't. Some haven't traveled over there. And when I see the ones that do these little rinky-dink TikTok videos in China and try to tell me how great and beautiful and how important it is, China is better in this, and Chinese, you're a sellout. That's what I tell you. You're a sellout. Because I am never going to be okay with land, which is already a scarce commodity. We already have U.S. citizens that don't own land and should own it. And to me, I sit back and I wonder why every black person who needs reparations isn't against this. This takes up your 40 acres and a mule. Okay? You can't get 40 acres if they got 265,000 acres that they just bought randomly. Hell, to advocate just like that. And there's no conversation on it. And people who mention it, they say we're conspiracy theorists. We're crazy.
In perspective, that is a fraction of 1% of the farmland in the U.S. You can see the exact number on your screen. But this move also applies to other foreign adversaries. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rawns says this ban is necessary to keep Americans safe.
American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us.
Kate Cadell joins us now. She's a national security reporter for The Washington Post who has been...
They're using our system against us.
...following this story. Kate, thanks so much for being with us. You know, as we mentioned, this really is just such a small amount of farmland we're talking about here. What is the administration's reasoning on how this could be a threat?
So the big threat around Chinese investment in U.S. farmland is about proximity to military bases, and that's really what sort of kicked off this spark of concern. So I guess the concern there is that Chinese investors, if they were coerced by the Chinese government, could conduct espionage or surveillance from this land. They could surveil troop movements, things like that. And the big case that sparked concern was a Chinese company in North Dakota that bought a lot of land close to an air base up there. There's also a less realistic threat about, if a country like China owns a lot of the food supply chain, then in a time of crisis, they could restrict that and affect the food supply in the U.S.
Is there any sense that American farmers will be impacted by this? Could they see any benefit? Will there be any real effect on prices Americans see at the grocery store from this?
No, I don't think so. Just because of exactly what you mentioned, which is that Chinese investors, in truth, own so little land in the US. And in fact, in the past 4 or 5 years, they've actually reduced the amount of land they own by almost a third. And that's got more to do with factors around Chinese regulations than US regulations. Also, about a third of that land is owned by a single supplier, which is Smithfield Foods. And they primarily actually serve the US market. They also employ around 43,000 US employees. So I suppose one of the effects would be it would affect those people employed by Smithfield.
And Kate, as you know, there is bipartisan support for taking on China. How much is that driving the Trump administration's decision-making here?
I'd say that has a very big impact. There is an aspect of saber rattling here. There's no downsides for a lawmaker in the U.S. to go after China. And if you look at the way that Republican lawmakers talk about China, that's very clearly one aspect of it. To be clear, I mean, this would be a very different situation if China owned a huge amount of farmland. They don't own a huge amount of farmland, and Chinese agents have spied on military bases. We see cases like this all the time, but typically it doesn't come from farmland. In fact, we have never seen a known case of Chinese agents spying or cases where farmland's been used to spy on military bases. What we do see is it's usually people just traveling to these bases and taking photos under tourist visas and work visas.
Wow.
Kate Goodell, thank you very much for joining us.
Traveling to the farmland, traveling to the bases, taking photos outside of the bases, being here on visas. So they're here on a visa. Now, I raise this concern and I say it because we already have Chinese nationals, people that were born in China and raised here, advocating for certain things that you would not see. I wouldn't normally sit back and say, hey, that person, just because they're Chinese don't mean that they spy for China. Oh, just because they're Spanish don't mean that they work for the cartels or something like that. That's, people don't normally walk around thinking that. We look at people and we judge them based on their character, how they move, and accept people just for who they are and who they give themselves out to. But the problem that I have, the thing that I keeps, I don't know, it just keeps making me think about this. I keep thinking about how they're just required to spy for China if you were born there. If you're a national of China, you're just required to spy. So we've got Chinese national, we've got a Chinese congressman, and it wouldn't be a bad issue. It wouldn't be a bad issue. Even after we spoke about this, it wouldn't even be anything to even have a conversation. But when he starts talking like this is Gene Wu, representative coming out of Texas. When Gene Wu starts talking like this, I start scratching my head.
Now let's stay with the increasingly radical Democrats. This is the minority leader of the Democrats in the Texas House, Gene Wu. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but he seems to be advocating for some sort of race war against white people.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning, because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided.
He's saying two things that keep making me think China. He's talking about rising up against the oppressor. He's also talking about fractional divides in minorities and them coming together. This is definitely a way how you can topple a government or take over. You take all the minority groups, you bring them together. You said you're being brought down by an oppressor. We need to make it fair. Fair is the pivotal point. That's an anchor block in socialism, in communism. Because in communism, and also in socialism, there's a place where all of the power comes from one place, centralized power, and we want it to be fairly distributed. We want people to fairly have access to all these fair things. All these things, they got to be fairly distributed to everyone. And as someone who says, yeah, there are a lot of injustices done, but I don't believe it's enough injustices done in this country to remove our political system, to change it, to completely change it, to rise up against white people. Hold on. I like some of these white people. I don't have a problem with some of these white people. Hold on. Oh, no. What white people you got problems with? None of them came to me and did anything to me or attacked me. Yeah, I got some clown neighbors. I got one particular clown neighbor, but so what? The Joker can't beat me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Who cares? But this is the propaganda that someone who is a sitting U.S. congressperson, sitting representative is actually spewing out. And the light bulb in my head starts to go off when I said, oh, he was born in China. Oh, he went to school here. Oh, he became a naturalized citizen. Dang. You mean to tell me his wife is Chinese and she was born in China too? See, being born in China wouldn't be an issue if you were talking about we moved to America, we love this country gave us a brand new way, it opened doors for us. We just want to support America and be just a support we love this country. But no, it's not. We need to take the white people out of this country. We need to change it. That does sound like a race war. You want me to rise up because we're fractionalized, we're factions in there until you wake up and see it. See, that feeds the appetite of a lot of black people that are power to the people. But most of those people who do that, they've never been in any type of physical conflict most of the time. They've probably had a couple fights growing up, but they've never been in a straight out war. Never had to raise guns and do anything like that. Never served most of the time in the military. See that certificate back there? That Army medal? They never did any of that. But they advocate for overthrowing something they have no idea for. And they will rally behind anybody that will listen to them and go for their victim mentality. Like, oh, we're victims, yes. This free world that allows freedom of speech, yeah. Damn. I want China. Their freedom of speech is better than ours. Oh, no.
We have the ability to take over the country. John, what do you make of that sort of rhetoric?
Well, that kind of racism is really antithetical to the American ideal and to American history. And by the way, whites are still a clear majority in the United States. I'm not sure what he's talking about. And he's right to the extent that he says that the idea of a minority coalition is really a fantasy. If you look at the 2024 election, President Trump's best demographic was American Indians. His second best demographic was Asians, and he virtually tied with Kamala Harris with Hispanics. And so the good news, Rita, is that most minority voters in America are not falling for this kind of racist nonsense.
Well, that is an excellent point, because Trump has been so successful in fracturing some of those voter blocks that the Democrats have almost taken for granted. They've just assumed if you're a minority, if you're Hispanic, if you're of any sort of racial background that's a minority in America, you must vote for the Democrats. And Donald Trump has proved.
And I'm going to stop it right here. That's one reason why I believe everything taking place in Minnesota, they're pulling out of Minnesota now. And they said they're reducing the amount of DHS and Border Patrol personnel that's there. But when you go against the Democratic Party and you attack their voting base, first you attack their money. Now you're attacking their voting block. And they're not going to be happy about it because they get their votes from bringing people in. They get their votes from converting people who are minorities, came over here through financial distress, to being on their side because, hey, we got a bunch of free programs over here. Let me get you some free programs. Get you some free stuff. You need some free stuff? Here's some free stuff. Here's some free stuff.
Congratulations. Well done.
Everybody needs some free stuff. You get free stuff. You get free stuff. You get free stuff. And this is where this is what we face. So when I started researching Republican, now he's not even Republican. I apologize. He is senator. Well, not even senator. He's a congressman out of Texas. Wu wasn't born in the States. 78. I mean, born at 78, 47 years old. Zhengdao, China. Democrat Party. 2 children. Married in 2012. Went to Texas A&M. University of Texas, Austin. South Texas College of Law. See, the reason it makes it hard for me to trust anyone that's like that is because the full regime is about overthrowing and taking full first place in the country, in the world. And who do you eliminate? You eliminate United States. Who do you bring in to do it? People who are here that are of your nationality that you know. How do you do it? You leverage their family against them. We got your cousin, we got your grandmama, we got your uncle, we got that naughty head little niece that you got. You saw the pictures that came to you. So you need to just do what we tell you to do. You need to play along with the People's Republic of China. You need to do that. You need to do that. If you don't, matter of fact, we're gonna pair you with another Chinese national that's there, and she's gonna become what? An Emmy award-winning journalist, ABC Houston. This is his wife. Currently, nobody aims to be racist, to be segregist, to say nasty and rude things about people. Nobody aims for that. I think that's the worst thing that you can do, is just to attack somebody based on how they look and their color and their creed or their belief. Whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, I worship where you want to worship. But damn, when you start talking about removing people that are in power and removing political systems in order to fit your narrative of injustice, let's line this up right. You're not playing America. You're not playing fair. You're not in no way, shape, or form do I see you as a patriot. I don't see you as someone that cares and loves the country. I just see you as someone that wants to cause turmoil, overthrow, cause confusion in the country. Why? Because most people who come here and born here, who come here, the people who come here and go through the work of becoming a citizen, they do it because they love America. They want America to continue to thrive, to stay in place. Yeah, we got bad apples. Yeah, we know the system isn't perfect. Yeah, we know there's some stuff that goes wrong. Yeah, we know we got protesters, crazy stuff. Everybody shouting is very polarizing. But one thing you can be sure of is, unlike some other countries, nobody's knocking on your door because you have an opinion that doesn't fit others, whether they're in power or they're minorities. That's what makes America different. I do believe that if we're going to do this situation when it comes to voter ID, we do need to have some verification that you are a citizen of the country. And if you don't have it through birth certificate, I say now is a great time to go get it. That shouldn't be a reason or excuse for us not to do it because you don't have it. or because they may not have it. Hey guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content. I'm hopping off. I'm about an hour and 50 minutes into this. We're going to do deeper dives into these subjects on my The Real Leon Duncan channel. So, hey guys, I see you guys on the next video. You guys be blessed, and just know that God loves you. See you guys tomorrow.